We have great questions coming in from you guys submitted via Instagram. Comment your questions in the comment section and I will try to cover them in the next video, or you can follow me and DM me on Instagram. If you want coaching under my guidance and training program, check out the link in the description, the Bodyweight Tribe, for everything bodyweight, strength and size. How many sets for muscle growth with calisthenics? So we have to remember, and this is by Samuel Does Reps, if you are talking about muscle growth in particular, then any form of resistance training, research clearly states that there's a dose-response direct relationship, meaning the more volume you do, the more growth that you will see, and there's a threshold that is basically an unpractical reaching where volume is so high that you'll have to spend too much hours at the gym and they have no life, but it is very, very hard to reach. Remember that the more volume you do, by definition, the lower the intensity is, because if the intensity was so high, you couldn't have done a lot of volume to begin with. So with that in mind, about 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per workout, done 2 to 3 times a week per muscle group, which will result in about 20 to 40 sets per week per muscle group, would probably be the ideal for growth. If I would have to train someone for maximum size, I would lower the intensity and go for these volume ranges per week. Bear in mind, again, high intensity Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates style would result in muscle growth as well, but we already know now that it does not maximize muscle growth. And if you go back and see anecdotally how old school athletes trained, most of them being natural, I'm talking about the bronze and the silver era, we can see that they were adamant about high volume training. And research now shows why. Do you believe in a natural limit with muscle growth? Natural bodybuilding is going wild, again by Samuel Does Reps. Yes, there's a clear-cut muscle building for natural ceiling. Absolutely. I don't believe that we will ever see a 5'7" natural athlete, very lean, weighing 230 pounds. I don't think that we will ever see it, while we do have enhanced athletes, bodybuilders who exceeded those numbers way, way, way beyond. The natural bodybuilding community is going. I think it is great. They have now to represent and be proud about it because training as natural is entirely different than training as an advanced athlete, and the viewers must know that and choose their resources wisely. So now people have to speak about being natural. There is a clear-cut ceiling, but I also think that even if you take an extremely mature and experienced bodybuilder that is natural, you can always theorize about the potential of adding 1 more pound of muscle, 2 more pounds of muscle, because there is always something that you can improve as an individual. You can always improve your sleep, you can always improve your nutrition or supplementation or programming and training, or get more guidance and coaching. So there is always room for improvement. You should never really think about the fact that you ever reached your true potential, and you can always improve, which is great. What are your thoughts on red meat consequences? I view red meat as a health food. For me, it is a top 3 performance, cognitively, health, function, and longevity food that I want to keep around in my diet. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about red meat consumptions that came from misinterpreted, misinformed studies way back in the 60s, 70s about high fat in general, but also about high saturated fat in particular, and cholesterol, which in Western societies, if you take a look at epidemiological studies, they are or were correlated with negative health outcomes, but not taking unhealthy user bias into the equation, meaning people who were likely to eat more meat were also more likely to smoke, be less active physically, walk less, have lesser of education, and so on. And when you take that in mind and take a look at observational epidemiological studies in Asia, where meat was always correlated with wealth and health, you see that more meat consumption has a health positive effect. And actually, I believe in 2023, Hong Kong was also the highest in life expectancy and highest in the world in red meat consumption per average per citizen, which is very interesting. And when you take a look at studies that are randomized control studies, where you take a look at fresh meat and whole eggs, then you don't see any negative health outcomes. You only see positive, if anything. So red meat is extremely, by research, safe to consume. If you take a look at red meat with no bias, no dogma, and go back to the nutrition labels and just view it and compare to other foods based on nutritional value, protein, vitamins, and minerals, you see that there's a high quantity of bioavailable vitamins and minerals in high dosages compared to other foods. No dogma, no bias. If you take a look at red meat from an evolutionary standpoint, we've been eating red meat for hundreds of thousands of years. It's been fairly consistent. And arguably, what brought us to be an apex predator and survive and grow our brain size by about 30% to its peak. Jugal Chuan 21 asks, collagen good supplement for vegans and for those who had some injuries in joints? Yes, collagen is a good supplement for every practitioner, vegan, omnivore, or carnivore. In fact, a lot of people consume now just the muscle meat, just the steak, no tendons, no bones and ligaments, which make it less of a complete product with no collagen in it. So it is very important to also eat meat on the bone, stews where you get a lot of the collagen as well, and calcium from the meat. If you don't eat meat or get from your diet, then you should probably supplement, as collagen is very important to growth of tendons, ligaments, and joints, which is extremely important, especially in gymnastics, where you put a lot of strain on your wrists, joints, elbows, and shoulders, especially with straight arm strength. So you should consider supplementation of collagen, definitely. Rom Druyan asks, same macros, real food versus fast, unhealthy food. My answer is in two parts. The first one is it will be extremely hard for someone basing most of their diet on fast, junk food, unhealthy food to eat the same amount of calories and macro split as in comparison to someone eating whole food diet, because you will be introduced to highly palatable foods in certain combinations that will be very, very hard to resist to. That's first one. The second answer would be, provided we can put two people of already health, weight, muscle mass index, etc., and then we will put them on two different diets, whole foods versus unhealthy food, with the same amount of calories and macros, you will still not have the same micronutrients, that is vitamins, minerals, which will affect your hormones and all of the symbiosis that happens in the body, how the body reacts with certain compounds in it. They won't have the same health outcomes. I have a saying, I believe that I invented it, I never heard about it before. The quantity of what you eat will dictate how much you weigh, whether that being overweight, underweight, or the right weight. And the quality of what you eat will dictate how you will look and perform when you get there. Elias30 asks, if my reps increase but my weight is the same, do I eat enough? Well, if your reps increase consistently, then everything is working, don't overthink it. Eventually, I will say that your reps will not increase if weight maintains the same, if your body weight maintains the same, because it means you are not building muscle and you will not be able to increase strength. In this case, I will take a look at my nutrition, probably eat more of the right things, that is more protein, high quality, and whole sources of food, and eventually lean muscle mass will increase, which will result in your ability to also push progressive overload up. Martin Beckers asks how to find ideal macronutrient split in percentages, example 40% protein, 30% carbs, and 30% fat. You should start by prioritizing high quality protein and aim to get 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body weight, whether that is a higher number in order to build muscle or a lower number in order to lose body fat. Now, provided you will eat whole sources of high quality protein, such as whole eggs, red meat, chicken, fish, and some dairy, preferably fermented, such as yogurt and cottage cheese, it will include some fat with it, and you will use to prepare the foods some ghee, butter, or olive oil, cooking oil with it. The rest of your calories should come from carbs, and depending on your level of activity, you will eat more carbs and calories. If you are extremely sedentary and you only train twice a week, you will probably only need about 1 gram of carbs a day per kilogram of body weight. If you are extremely active, you should aim to something along the lines of 3 grams of carbs per day per kilogram of body weight. And that should result in a good, healthy macronutrient split. August Brouville asks, how do you stay consistent with eating healthy, and does eating healthy helps joint pain? So in order to stay consistent with eating healthy, you start by buying in bulks. Think about how much food you need, depending on your level of activity, preference, etc., for a week. Then buy in bulks. Often it is also cheaper. Once you buy it, prepare in bulk. It is fine if you have extra time, and it is great to prepare fresh food, but always have access to food, and protein in particular, that is already prepped, let's say 2 or 3 days in advance. Make it accessible, make it easy for you to stick to the diet. The last thing is, food actually needs to be delicious. You need to love food. I still wait for every meal, even though it is fairly similar to the previous one. So make good food, watch some recipes, and get cooking. And for the second question, eating healthy does help reduce joint pain because it will reduce inflammation, and you increase the rate of muscle repairment, joint, ligament, and tendon repairment, and also building bone density. You will recover faster and reduce the rate of inflammation, making you feel significantly better. That's the Q&A session for today. Great questions. If you have more questions, you can DM me on Instagram and follow me there, or leave them down in the comment section below and I will try to cover them. I wasn't able to answer all questions as there were a lot of questions submitted last time, but ultimately I hope to get to everyone. And if you want online coaching under my guidance or training program, basically everything bodyweight strength and muscle, check the link in the description, thebodyweighttribe.com. Support me and this channel. Like and subscribe only if you love the video. See you next time.